welcome everybody to another episode of Life by Life West. I'm Dr. Ron Oberstein, and I have my better half, my significant other, Dr. Mary Oberstein. Hi, Dr. Mary. And today we have a very special guest with us. We have Dr. Ben Glass, and Dr. Ben is a very special man. I'm going to give you a little bit of his history, and then we're going to kind of jump into having you get to know more about Ben. If you know him, and if you don't know him, you'll get to learn about what he's doing. Dr. Ben is a 2012 graduate from Life West. Right after school, he started a practice in Oakland, California, with his significant other, Dr. Irina, and it's called the Shift Chiropractic, which I love that name, making a shift. I love it, or shift happens. He also is doing something phenomenal. And I just want to let you guys know this. He's doing something called PreCairo, and you can find it on YouTube and Facebook. He's putting the message out to pre-chiropractic students about what it's like to be a chiropractor, and Ben, as a president, I just have to tell you, and not just a president, just in love with chiropractic, what you're doing, reaching the younger masses and educating them about what chiropractic is and seeing if it's the right path is just really, really incredible. He's got a website, becomeachiro.com. That'll be on the screen. You'll see it later. But let's just jump in. Ben, welcome to Life by Life West.
Appreciate you having me, Dr. Ron. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on here. I appreciate it. This is a great platform that you're creating just to build the presence of what exists currently within the Life West community. Is great.
Yeah, and this goes beyond. And full disclosure, this was Dr. Mary's idea. Full disclosure, and but this goes way beyond. Reaches everybody out there in Cairo land, so to speak, right?
It's good.
All right.
I've been watching some of the episodes. They're really helpful.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. But let's kind of go into it. You got out of school, you started a practice, right away. What was it like?
Right out of school, I had transferred schools. I had been through a lot in regards to having a parallel curriculum that I was at seminars. I was going to seminars every weekend. I was bringing fellow students along with me. I'd see students on tours at the school. I'd run up to them and just share with them, hey, if you come to this school, you're going to have access to more resources than you could ever imagine within chiropractic. And so getting out of school, I had all this inner confidence. I had already been on multiple service trips, and I wanted to go on one on my own. So I took my portable table and I went to an island off the coast of Honduras. It was time to decompress. You sit in those chairs for multiple years. You need to get out of gravity. So I wanted to scuba dive. And I showed up on the island, and looking back at it, it would have been a totally different story had I not gone to a seminar the weekend before I left for Honduras and saw Dr. Rhea Zimmerman, who connected me with one of her friends that was out there, had a foundation, a nonprofit on the island. So I had housing when I arrived. I was picked up from the airport, and I was also given that connection to the local community health center. So within the first week after graduating, I was giving a presentation to medical doctors, nurses, and medical students that were in the residency out there.
I love it.
So it was a really great opportunity and introduction into the real world for me. I was on fire for chiropractic coming out of school and having the experience I had. And I was able to show up on the island with very little. Like, I had very little money, but I knew that if I had, through experience, realized that you could trade chiropractic for anything. So my plan was to get there and develop my connections. And so within a week, I had housing. And within 6 weeks, I did a festival on the island. I went on TV, I went on the radio, and I promoted the poorer side of the island. Had a community of people there who were kind of forgotten about. The tourism didn't really go to that side of the island. And I had a personal connection. My best friend growing up was from that culture. It's called the Garifuna culture. And so there was one college educated person in that whole town, and she had studied wellness in the States and was back there just kind of being back fresh out of college. And so me and her collaborated. We gave presentations to the whole community, to the president of the community, who gave us permission. And long story short, within 6-7 weeks, not only had I developed a presence on the island through this project, which aimed to celebrate the way of life of the ancestors of this culture, which was kind of fading due to dependence on the mainland for their food, and for numerous reasons. The language was being lost, and it was a success. We had planted over 90 trees there. We had contests where the elders would cook dishes that hadn't been shared, and we were filming this whole thing on DVD. It was a really amazing project. And so I brought that energy back with me after 7 weeks on the island to Oakland, landed in Oakland, and I just started walking the streets looking for the right space. I think that something that I had learned in school was you want to be on a street where people aren't driving more than 25, 30 miles per hour. It's well trafficked. And you want to be in the middle, or you want to be really close to the exits off the highway. So I found a location after walking the streets for about 3 months. I had started my practice out of a co-working space called The Hub. And I started taking care of their leadership team, and word spread that I existed. I was over by the bathroom. I had a little office space, and I would just invite people in, tell them about chiropractic, and try and get them to commit to working with me for a series of visits. And so anyway, after 3 months, found a space, super low overhead in Chinatown. And I was able to basically start with just a table, a zero gravity chair, and a computer. And you could say the rest is history. But when I was in school, Dr. Davis would come to the school often. And it was in the same class that I met you in for the first time. It was like our last year. It was a philosophy class. You came in with one of your friends. He came in a different week, and he said, I used to just stand out on the corner and just introduce myself to people in my cart and say, hey, if I could be your chiropractor, or if you know anybody who needs a chiropractor, I'm available. And I started doing that. Looking back in college, I was a club promoter in New York, and I used to just walk up to people on the street and just hand them flyers and start chopping it up with them. And so for me, that was kind of natural, or I had overcome that inner tension that I would feel walking up to strangers. And so, was able to organically build a practice, been open in the same space now for about 9 years. Haven't felt the need to really grow out of that. So it's been a great ride.
I love it. Innately designed, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Ben, it sounds like you're just the guy who you just like put your head down, you just go to work, and you just get stuff done. As you were speaking, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Did you ever have any negative self-talk? Because it sounds like if you did, you ignored it, and you just kept going forward and just kept doing what you were innately driven to do. Did you have like negative self-talk or any challenges that came up?
Yeah, I think we all do. I think all of my friends, when we got out of school, we had success in school, whether it was we were leaders in clubs, or we took on roles where we were having to present ourselves as having a lot of confidence and being able to show people the way. But we realized quite quickly that when you get out into the real world, nobody knows who you are. You're starting all over again. And these transition phases are really difficult. I mean, I think the most important thing I could say is that I would voice my frustrations and my challenges with my friends that were also chiropractic students, or not really in the real world yet. And I'd just be like, get ready, because it's real. I remember coming to Life West and speaking the week I got back from Honduras about all my accomplishments, but also talking about the challenges of like being in a place that nobody knows you and nobody knows about chiropractic, and literally just walking the streets with the chiropractic table and being, talked down to by people that quite frankly had no experience with me or chiropractic, but had this negative connotation. So yeah, the inner dialogue, it's an ongoing thing. Even to this day, there's lots of, that's the beauty of chiropractic though. It's like putting you in touch with the reality that whatever that inner voice is, listen to it, even if it's telling you some things, they might be limiting beliefs. And that's something that I kept sticking to, is what is my limiting belief in this situation? And no matter what situation I put myself in, it's like, how can I adapt? That's the question that I kept asking myself. Like, where's the opportunity in this room of people that I don't know? And I kept finding myself in those situations. And eventually you find yourself in a space where people know you. So.
Yeah. And Ben, I think you hit it on the head, because we have our educated mind and our innate mind, right? That educated is that programmed conscious mind that, from our grandparents and our parents and our other teachers of money doesn't grow on trees and, and all this different stuff, the self-talk that we don't even know we have, right? And what I'm hearing is that you just kind of tapped into that innate voice of just get free, pass my card out, talk to people. Dr. Davis, we heard that from Dr. Williams. A good friend of Dr. Davis and mine, Dr. Frank Gilbert in New York City, you're from the city, or from New York at least, sent them down into the subways and said, pass your card out down there, make a flyer. He was like, I can't do that. It's New York City, there's bumps. Go down there. Boy, he went down there, started passing it to say exactly like you said, Dr. Frank Gilbert, if I could be your chiropractor, I'd love to. And his office exploded. It wasn't from the passing, it was the action of doing that, freed his mind up, took the lid off, and just made that happen. So now you've been in practice, what, probably close to 8 years, 9 years?
Yep, exactly.
And what do you, how has your practice shifted? I like that for Shift Chiropractic, right? What shifts have you seen in it, between you and Dr. Irina, just in the practice itself from when you started?
I mean, to keep it real, practice life is a roller coaster. It's nonlinear, just like life is. And so things happen. People go through different transformations in life. For me, being in practice has been this consistent thing, but so many things outside of practice have changed. We've started a family. Starting practice, you don't really have necessarily a business understanding of how important marketing is. And so my approach was what I knew, which was, going out and doing screenings, guerrilla marketing, meeting people where they're at in the community. Nowadays, we don't have to work as hard. We've never really actually spent money on advertising, to be honest with you. We just keep focusing on the people that are in our practice and growing the practice organically from the inside out. And that's been able to build resilience in our practice, not being so affected from external factors like the pandemic or like other chiropractors that market incredibly well to the community. So we're in the same community as the Source Chiropractic. We actually opened in the same month as he did. And me and Brett have a long history together, but they've done an amazing job of increasing their presence and really just exploding their presence online. And so we had to just, basically focus on what we're good at, which is the art and science and philosophy of delivering chiropractic to people and getting great results and just meeting people where they're at and being focused on that connection. And it's done really well for us. I mean, we're not by any means a high volume practice. We see about 150 visits a week, but we have fun. We enjoy people. People enjoy us. We've established relationships with the people that we take care of. And when we go around town, we always see people that we know. So I love being a chiropractor over time in the same place, because in order to build community, in order to be a chiropractic practice that people know about, you really have to put your roots down. And that was one of the hardest things for me. I know that if I wouldn't have been in relationship with Irina, who was still in school when we were starting our practice, and by the time she got out of school a year later, the practice was already established. We had done a lot of work to get it to where it was. We weren't going anywhere. So I know that I would have been bouncing around. And I know that that's a common thing that I see of fellow chiropractors, that it's a struggle if you can't set foot and root down in a place for at least 3 to 5 years. That's just being real. So being here for eight years ish now it's been easier and easier. And it just feels like a natural flow now. I practice 2.5 days a week. It's been really amazing to have a baby and be there more often than not. So it's a
great life.
It's a great life as a chiropractor, man.
Yeah.
Sounds like you got pretty rooted there too, which is important.
Yes.
So I want to shift, no pun intended. I want to shift a little bit from the practice to when Ron introduced you, he talked about the PreCairo podcast, and which obviously you're passionate about reaching and connecting with pre-chiropractic students. So tell the audience a little bit about that, when you started it, but more importantly, why? Like, what's your why behind that?
I'll try and give this condensed a version as possible. I was going through undergrad as an exercise science college athlete, tennis and soccer in college. I played. I was studying massage therapy on the side. So I had a job after school. I was working at the YMCA as a personal trainer. I was volunteering in an emergency department, providing just some basic care for people in regards to heroin overdose. And so I was doing all these things to prepare myself for a career in healthcare. I was pre-allied health, and chiropractic was never presented to me as a legit option, as the primary option if I wanted to go in the path of health, healing, and well-being. And I was frustrated when I discovered it in my last semester of school when I was researching all these different options for myself. And I brought a chiropractor into an intro to kinesiology class who was actually just holding a spine and talking about the chiropractic story. And it still to this day really is amazing to me how many people came up to him after that lecture and were just, inspired. And they kept bringing chiropractors back after that time. And it started a tradition of having chiropractic be represented at Temple University, where there's hundreds of kinesiology, biology, entrepreneur majors that would love to hear that this is an option for them. And so anyway, I chose my school based on location. And that was a bad move for me, because I ended up going to a school where chiropractic didn't really exist, even though it was called the chiropractic school. And since then, they've changed their name. Now they're not representing chiropractic. They're a health science university. However, transferring to Life West and seeing the lack of access that my fellow friends and students had at the previous school really upset me. So I inspired one student to come down. Her name's Dr. Julia Pinkerton, and she just flourished at Life West. She's been heavily involved in the college since she got there. And just seeing that possible shift in somebody's trajectory makes such a big impact on their life and their satisfaction with the student experience in chiropractic education. I started a club called Chiropractic Movement, where we were just aiming to bring chiropractic to the masses. And I was connecting students at different schools. I brought students together onto a platform online from 18 different schools in 9 different countries, all chiropractic students. And we were just sharing resources that were available to us at Life West that students at other schools didn't have access to. So anyway, I got in the clinic. I had to pause on the project completely. That's basically it in a nutshell of like how the seed was planted. I presented the project to Dr. Klum and to Dr. Kelly. It's funny, Dr. Brett Jones was pledging the fraternity, and I was walking down the hall to present it to the board of directors and Dr. Kelly. And I said, hey, I need somebody to just sit behind me. I had already built a dialogue with him about the project. I said, can you just represent? He said, no, man, I'm pledging. I don't have time for this. I said, well, please, just like 15 minutes. And so anyway, he sat behind me afterwards. He said, I'm dropping out of the fraternity. Let's do this. And so we started the Chiropractic Movement project together. And eventually it splintered into us going different directions for different interests. Like we wanted to serve different audiences. And anyway, long story short, I never let go of this project. I think being a chiropractic student and becoming a chiropractor is all about that self-reflection, that inner process. And so throughout school, I would write notes of like, okay, how could this be more chiropractic? Every single class, I had something written of like, how could this be related to chiropractic? Because I was planning from third quarter, right when I got to Life West, all the way up through the end of school to do this project. And then in my senior year, my car got broken into, all my journals got stolen, which was upsetting, but it was kind of cool because I got to keep going and I didn't let that slow me down. And I just would reflect back on the whole program. I obviously didn't have those like moment to moment innate thoughts, but basically 8 years out now in the practice. And I still to this day write for that PreCairo audience because I believe that the entire process was so disconnected and the schools weren't talking to each other. That was obvious to me when I transferred, and the students weren't talking to each other. And those are subluxations that I believe the profession has and continues to have to this day. And so the project is really to reconnect those aspects of the profession, the organizations, the companies, the schools, the students that have like interests, and just connect them and build bridges between them so that they can be stronger together. And so that was kind of long-winded, but that's where the project kind of came from, and that's how it's developed.
Right, but now the audience is like pre-chiropractic students, obviously pre-chiro, right? So when people have questions or students, or you're putting it out there on the website, and then you've got videos of people and talking about it and really giving a great education. And I just got to tell you this, Dr. Ben. I mean, I'm truly in love with what you're doing. I think the three of us can say, and probably a lot of our audience can say the same thing, what a gift it is to be a chiropractor. Like you just talked about, you could be with your child during the raising of your child, and you're not working an 8-to-5 job where you come back and you sit on the chair and open up a beer and fall asleep to the TV kind of deal, right? And not to say that's wrong. I'm not saying that at all, but it's like, you got 2.5 days that you're seeing patients, and the other times you got to be around your family and to work on your passions. It's incredible. So when you look at PreCairo, because these days, it used to be when Dr. Mary and I went to school, 90, 95, 98% of the people in our class was referred by a chiropractor or been under chiropractic care, right? Nowadays, it's less than 50, and so, but that's kind of cool on one level, because they're coming from Temple and other colleges because they're hearing more about chiropractic as a pathway to do to express themselves in the healing world, right? But it also comes with a challenge because they have no idea what chiropractic is.
Right.
And I love what you're doing because you're educating, right? Is that's part of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, currently right now, PreCairo as a hashtag is just over 150 hashtags. Currently, pre-med is 1.5 million hashtags, and pre-PT is 950,000 hashtags. So they built a culture. They've invested millions of dollars into that audience. And to me, it doesn't make any sense, especially as our typical education system, as we know it in the classroom, has shifted online. Students are not going to sign up to come to school unless they know like 2,000% why they're coming. And so the game is changing, and those who are reaching the right people at the right time in their path, who have interests that they just don't know are aligned with chiropractic. I'm saying that a lot of people, if they knew chiropractic existed and they knew that it was what it was, truly what it was, there would be wait lists. Schools wouldn't be, they would be at capacity. And so there's so much need for us to take care of that audience. And I think Life West actually does a great job of creating programs and resources just like this one, just to provide insight.
Yeah, we do. We focus a lot on outreach, and we agree with you, like getting to people and telling them about the profession. It's so important. I mean, that's, you took your why and you did something, you took action, which is like you saw the need and you did it. So thank you for doing that. Most people, well, not say most, a lot of people don't do that. They tell their story and then it ends there. So thanks for stepping up and doing that. One thing I want to ask you, on these episodes, we ask 2 questions at the end of the episode. And the first one is, if you could go back and talk to Ben, the chiropractic student, and give him some advice now with all your wisdom, what would you say to him?
Well, I would say to see this process as having started before chiropractic school and continuing on after chiropractic school, and just to really look at the entire picture and really look at your story and who you are and what your background is, and try and bring that into the experience as much as possible. So many people are just focused on what's right there in front of them, and seeing the long-term picture, that long road is really crucial, because it allows you to design your educational experience based on what direction you want to move in. And so asking the right questions, some questions I would be asking is, why am I here to study chiropractic, and what are my strengths and how can I utilize them to the best of my ability as a chiropractor? So doing some strengths identification. There's a great website called AuthenticHappiness.com. The VIA Virtues in Action Strengths Survey is through the Positive Psychology Department at the University of Pennsylvania. They did a great 150 questionnaire. Maybe it'll take you an hour to do, but tons of introspection, and it gives you your top 25 strengths. I would have them really explore the ecosystem that we're developing through the PreCairo project to tap into the different technique company leaders and really get insights as to why they do what they do and how they work with people differently. And then I would also just encourage them to really get some mentorship that different types of mentors, right? Chiropractic, the way that I'm contextualizing it is you're a scientist, thinker, artist, teacher, and entrepreneur. And so really looking at the blend that you have each quarter by quarter, maybe you switch up your blend. Maybe you're focused on being a really big thinker one quarter, and then the next one is all about your artistry, or maybe you're focused on your entrepreneurial skills. But being a teacher is something that's very challenging. You know, public speaking, I just remember introducing people at seminar at school and like literally shaking and my voice cracking on stage and just never feeling like I could get comfortable in front of an audience. And so now I just encourage people, look, you don't need to be in front of 100 people. You can literally just be in your room, comfortable in front of your camera. So just starting to practice having conversations. One thing I keep telling everybody is this StreamYard application that I use. It's as easy as sending a text message and it opens up a Zoom-like call just like this that's recorded. Do it with your loved ones, do it with your friends, do it with the people you can't be close to right now, because you could always rewatch those conversations you had and just smile and like just look at, you know, how that connection that you have with that person is so beautiful. And so the same is true with like when we describe what we're up to as chiropractic students, like do it on a recorded call that you can look back and document, wow, this is me on fire for chiropractic and so clear on what it is. Because I think when you get out into the real world, it's, if you're really weak in chiropractic sort of thinking and the mindset that you talked about, the innate mindset, it's really easy to just follow whatever pleasing other people is going to, you know, allow you to do. Like you're just going to be a people pleaser, or you're just going to want people to like you. And being a chiropractor really requires you to step out and say, hey, I know who I am. I'm rooted in this principle. And whether you like it or not, I just want to share who I am, you know, authentically. So doing that is really difficult at first, and you get comfortable the more you do it. So that would be like my biggest suggestions.
I like it. So
that's great.
Let's switch that question now. And let's say, what would you right now, Dr. Ben, say to Dr. Ben, you know, in 2012, when they got back from their trip and stepping into the practice, so to speak? Like, what word of advice would you give looking back on the early practitioner, Dr. Ben?
Yeah. Well, I think that we very consciously serve others through chiropractic, but we very unconsciously receive that energy back, whether that's not asking them to share their experience with others, or whether that's not managing the money that we receive in exchange for our service properly. So if I was to go back, even to chiropractic student Ben, but new graduate Ben, I would have a system in place where when I receive money, whether it's student loan money or whether it's money coming in from care plans that I sell or adjustments that I deliver, I would know what to do with that money and how to properly manage it. Now, I had somebody, that person that came to the classroom with his spine and spoke to those undergraduate students who mentored me right before I went to chiropractic school. And I asked him just last year, because I started with the pandemic, started learning on YouTube University about financial literacy. And I said, do you have one of those infinite banking, become your own banker policies? And he said, yeah, that's what I'm doing for me and my family. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me like 10 years ago before I went to chiropractic school? And so having a $4 million death benefit right now gives me such an abundance mindset. and it's not that expensive to create, but it's this intermediary account that whenever I receive money, I put it in that account, and then I can pull it right back out again to pay my bills or do whatever I need to do, purchase equipment for my office. But I just tell people that are starting out, I say, keep your overhead low, be in a strategically like positioned location where people are passing by, people are in the area, and don't be scared to like go out and just meet people on the street.
Yep, I love it.
That's really hard to do, but that's so necessary.
I love it.
That's great advice. And even I love the advice about being smart with your money. You know, one of our daughters and son-in-law, one of our son-in-laws teaches about infinite banking because he knows how important it is.
Yeah, because we're entrepreneurs. We don't have a 401k to fall back on. You know, it's not the traditional route. And the more it's contextualized, there's a guy named Garrett Gunderson on YouTube who has managed the money of many wealthy chiropractors. That's how I found out about him. And he just has hundreds of videos on YouTube that students today, I'd recommend they go and learn how to set up your policy, how to do it the right way. And it just, for you, for your family, it's all about investing in your number one asset, which is you. And
but it's a conscious
life.
Ben, it's a consciousness, you know, and where it can start with is fiscal responsibility, obviously, right? You know, and then once you have that consciousness, then you can go to level 2 and level 3 and level 4, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love it. You know, we gotta wrap it up, but I do want to. I want to ask you one thing, because listen, I love this interview, and I want to thank you for being with us today. You know, Ben, I see you're a visionary, man. I mean, let's just put it out there. You know, you've got this vision and you're just working from this innate mind. I know all of our educated kicks in all the time, but you know, you just got this vision of what you're looking for with the PreCairo and with this and how you're making this stuff happen, you know, and you're creating that. In like, I don't know, 60 seconds or less, tell me, and Dr. Mary, what do you see, and this is a hard one though, but what do you see, what do you see the future of chiropractic? If, you know, when in 30 years from now, when you're kind of where we are, you know, in practice for, you know, or being a chiropractor for 36 to 40 years, 41 years, whatever, what's that future look like in your mind in a minute or less?
So if PreCairo is successful and we have an infusion of millions of dollars to market the profession and also to hire people to be mentors, I believe we should hire chiropractic students to mentor pre-chiropractic students. They should get paid. Then we can have and then pre-chiropractic students establish chiropractic on their campuses through PreCairo hubs that they have to start. They start their own bank account. They start their own hub. They're literally educating the guidance counselors, the administrators, the teachers to implement chiropractic into the anatomy and physiology classes and different aspects of the culture on their college campus. I believe that this thing will grow like wildfire, this thing we call a chiropractic profession, because it starts from within and really nurturing that environment on a campus environment and showing that by putting a PreCairo hub and by putting chiropractors in the health centers on those campuses, it dramatically shifts the consciousness around health and well-being of the population of people living and breathing and going to class and working on that campus. And so I think one campus at a time will do amazing things. And then I think that as we bring chiropractic to new countries, it's going to have to come from the PreCairo project and the PreCairo trajectory to bring people in and properly contextualize what it means to become a chiropractor. Otherwise, the schools that are opening are not going to have any runway that is created with every other profession out there. So those are just some basics that I'll touch on. And I believe that we need more investment in regards to relationship capital being leveraged from the celebrities that are out there. You know, the voices, the influencers, the people that have everybody's attention, and just acknowledging how important their chiropractor was, and then saying, hey, we need more chiropractors, you know? So.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Wow. Well, thank you, Ben. I mean, thank you for spending time with Dr. Mary and I this morning, and for just sharing your vision, man. I mean, I bought it. I'm hook, line, and sinker, man. I'm like, you know, I'm
you're
like,
a visionary for sure.
I'm right there. I'm right there.
Thank you too for the opportunity to share. It's always a pleasure just to connect in. You got that energy that I remember feeling at Life West that, it's always welcome.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, we're going to have, on the video, on our webcast, it'll show PreCairo. It's going to have all that stuff. I'm hoping that we want to have people do hashtag PreCairo. Is that like, a huge, so we can get all of our viewers to put out hashtag PreCairo. We'll start driving, right?
And just to be clear, this is not my project. I want to be that catalyst that creates other people that get inspired and want to really focus on that audience in new ways. So yes, PreCairo hashtag, become a Cairo hashtag. However, whoever's listening to this, if you want to take it and create a course for PreCairo students or help in any way, you could either reach out to me or you could just do your own thing. It's totally fine.
I love it. Open source. I love it. Well, listen, we've hit that time. Dr. Mary, thank you for being with us today. It's always a pleasure. Any time I get to spend with you is always a pleasure. That's the truth. It's the truth. And to our audience, I want to thank you for being with us today. It was, there's a lot that came out of this. Please share this. Share it with pre-Cairo students. Share it with Cairo students. And, and if you're a Cairo student, share it with your friends. Get this message out about chiropractic. And let's not keep it the best kept secret. Let's make this be world known. And Ben, I just appreciate all you're doing around that and making that happen. And please join us again for everybody. Keep coming back at us. We'll be on every week or every other week with the Life by Life West, and the opposite weeks we have Life Leadership Line. And keep growing this so that we can get our message out and we can make sure that more people are understanding that they have within them the ability to spread and to create whatever their reality is and whatever their dreams are, and turn them into reality. So until we come back at you again, for myself, Dr. Mary, and for Dr. Ben, we want to bid you adieu and thank you so much for tuning in.